Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adam McKay.
I got the new chair. I like it.
You're a tall man.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, and I guess I want to begin by referring to the the intro that I gave a moment ago. We noted that, you know, for a chunk of your career, people sort of associated you with one sort of movie, a movie that are beloved, including the ones I mentioned and many others. Movies that were very funny, made a lot of money, but maybe didn't get a lot of respect in the ways of this time of year. That again started to change, I guess, with The Big Short. Now again with Vice. When you set out to be a filmmaker, which sort of a movie were you thinking about wanting to make?
You know, I honestly just loved movies from a very early age. I was talking about this earlier. One of the movies I remember being in 5th grade, and back then they didn't care about like what movies kids would watch. Your parents would just be like, whatever, go watch it. So I saw Halloween at a way too young age. And I remember watching the movie Breaking Away, right? And I remember crying, like at the end. And by the way, I was a terrible, filthy, vandalizing child in 5th grade, throwing snowballs and tomatoes at anything that moved. And suddenly I was having this spiritual moment in the theater, watching this collection of kind of townies have their spiritual moment. And that just kept happening. And I kept coming back to movies. So, yeah, you're right. It came through an avenue of comedy, which was great because there were a lot of comedies that I loved too, including the movie Airplane and all the Monty Python movies. Life of Brian were huge for me. And so, yeah, it came through that, but I always loved movies throughout it all kinds of movies.
So with this particular movie, when you're sitting down to figure out who's going to play Dick and Lynn Cheney over the course of a half century in your film, you went to two people you'd worked with before, Christian Bale, who was, of course, in The Big Short, and Amy Adams, who, before she was Amy Adams, about 14, 15 years ago, crawled across a table for you to make out with Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. What made you think that those are your Cheneys?
Well, we knew that Dick Cheney was a very cagey character. He's a guy who, throughout his career, has refused to hand over documents, has deleted a lot of emails. He makes the Hillary stories look outright transparent. So we knew that Dick Cheney was really hard to nail down. We had read his autobiography, read everything, and he wasn't saying much. And so I knew that if we were going to go after this guy, if we were going to really try and figure him out, and by after him, I mean like get to the center of him, there's no actor on planet Earth who goes deeper than Christian Bale. Yeah. It's true.
Can we talk? Oh, I'm sorry, please.
So I called him, and he says, "Are you crazy?" and I was just like, "You know you want to do this." And then he dove in. And then when it came to Lynn Cheney, you know, Amy Adams has this American toughness to her. She was raised in Colorado. I was born in Colorado, and you just get the feeling that like she's the sweetest woman in the world, but at the same time she could take a shotgun blast standing, like, and that's Lynn Cheney. So they both kind of cast themselves.
Can you just, you know, to follow up on Christian's commitment to this, I wonder if you can talk about what he went through physically to become this guy. I know that, I guess it was this past Telluride Film Festival over Labor Day weekend, you know, there's a lot of people from LA take a plane to Telluride to cover that or to attend it or whatever, and you walk down the aisle and you say, I know this guy, nobody even realized Christian Bale was on the plane because he was still Dick Cheney-esque physique. So can you tell us what we were dealing with?
You know, I don't want to speak for Christian too much, but I can tell you the things I encountered, and you're right, I remember that with Telluride. He kind of looked like Sid Barrett from later years Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd. God bless Sid Barrett, by the way, brilliant. You know, I joked with him, I was like, you know, Christian, do you want to get a blood transfusion to match the blood of Dick Cheney? What's incredible about Christian is that you see the physical transformation, and it is remarkable, there's no question. And God bless Greg Canham, our makeup artist, and Chris Gallagher. Oh my God, definitely applaud them. And they all collaborated together. But what's incredible about Christian is he's not doing it for a physical effect. Every choice he's making is underpinned with deep psychological research. And the one example I will give is Cheney's kind of tight jaw. You know, Cheney always has that tight jaw. And Christian figured out what that was. And that was Dick Cheney getting DUIs in his early 20s. That was Dick Cheney getting in fights. That was Dick Cheney's crazy Wyoming spirit that he had to hold somewhere. And as he went later in life, he had to hold it more and more until eventually he was VP, and then he let it loose. And Christian did that with everything. Every gesture you see in the movie is underpinned with that.
Can we bring up one other example? Christian Bale learned, even though he's generally a very healthy guy who probably wouldn't have had to worry about this, learned the various ways that somebody might know that they have a heart attack coming on. And this actually turned out to be useful not only for your film, right?
Yes. During the filming of this movie, I'm one of those foolish people that I'm now 50 and I did not stop smoking. By the way, if you smoke, stop. And during this movie, I put on a little weight, and I kept thinking, please do not let me have a heart attack while I'm making a movie about Dick Cheney. I literally said that to my wife. I'm like, I don't think I'm so healthy right now. And then sure enough, we were done filming. I called my trainer. I said, I need help right now. Our second workout, my hands started tingling. My stomach felt queasy, which I always thought a heart attack was like pain in your heart and your arm. And I remembered Christian when we shot the first heart attack scene in Wyoming when he was campaigning, saying, how do you know, he has that, well, he was in Cheney character. Otherwise, he has that thick Welsh accent, but he was in character. And he said, how do you want me to do the heart attack? I go, what do you mean? It's always a chest pain and arm. He goes, no, no, no. One of the more common ways is your stomach is queasy. And right at that moment, I remembered that, and I ran upstairs and popped like 4 baby aspirin and called 911. And when I got to the hospital, there was this cardiologist there. He's like, why did you do that? And I was like, my lead actor told me that. That's true. It's a true story. Yeah.
And one further punchline to that?
Well, I love that you know this. Some people don't know this. So then I'm having a heart attack, and it's in the back of my heart, the lower part. So it's not, I don't know, I could have died. I don't mean to diminish it, but I go in the cath lab, which, by the way, you don't ever want to know what a cath lab is. And they do the catheter up into you, and they clear out your artery, and I'm in there, and there's this amazing doctor, Dr. Henry, one of the great cardiologists in the world, and everything's going well. He's like, you're gonna be okay. You're in the hospital. It's 99.9% you're fine. They do all this crazy stuff. They pump me up with drugs. At one point I hear like the word fentanyl, and I'm like, no, no, but it's a very small amount. So I'm high on these horrible drugs, and they've cleared the blockage, and I'm starting to feel better. And then in my demented state, I decide that the doctors and nurses need to know how ironic this is, that I've been working on a movie about Dick Cheney, and here I am having a heart attack. And so I'm leaning back, and I go, it's so weird doing a movie about Dick Cheney, and now here I am having a heart attack. And as professionals, they ignore me. But there's a voice to my right after a beat, and I just hear Dick Cheney, great American. And my wife gave me such a hard time because, of course, I'm like, oh, it's complicated.
Adam McKay, thank you for being here. We'll be back with you in a moment. Our next guest is a Polish filmmaker who started out making award-winning documentaries that are still taught in film schools and then transitioned into narrative filmmaking with understated masterpieces like 2004's English language My Summer of Love, which introduced the world to Emily Blunt, 2014's Polish language Ida, which was awarded the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar, and 2018's Cold War, for which he was awarded the Cannes Film Festival's Best Director prize, and which subsequently received 3 Oscar nominations, more than any other film in Polish, more than any other Polish film in history, specifically Best Cinematography, Best Foreign Language Film, and Best Director. Let's take a look at Cold War, directed by Paweł Polakowski.